Live. It's Pastor Dave here. It's Wednesday night. Tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked. Come on, let's hit it. We got some things we want to share tonight. We want to take you right to it. Welcome to Tattoo. Yeah, let's hit it. Tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked. You've been trying to avoid it, but it's for you. It's written for you. It comes straight from the book of knowledge, the book of understanding. It's what we try to impart wisdom. The tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked are things that sometimes you were trying to avoid. Right? Somebody was trying to kick some knowledge to you, but you weren't trying to pick it up. Then Pastor Dave showed up. Listen, we're excited about Tattoo because we always try to, we've been in the rec centers since 2013. Listen, check this out. We do have a little promo for you. Check this out.
Here we go. That's crazy.
All right, everybody say Tattoo. Tattoo. All right, so understand it. Now you should keep it on me. Everybody say understand it. Here's the next one. All right. Here's the word. Everyone say posture. Now, when you posture yourself, when you appreciate, you posture yourself to receive good things. Hope you enjoyed that. So listen, we got a series of things we wanted to, we're going to hit it and quit it real quick tonight. We were talking about pandemics, but before we go there, I want to share with you, let's see here, as we usually like to do. We have the definition of tattoo, tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked. And the other definition is the art of listening and the power of comprehension. I need to change that art because it says every fourth Wednesday. That's when we first started, and I used to share this at VER. Now we've started every second Wednesday at D. Silvestro and every fourth Wednesday at VER. But since the pandemic, since last year in March, we've been doing every Wednesday because we're virtualized now. So it's me getting in front of the camera now every Wednesday as opposed to traveling to the different rec centers. We have our cell phone app. We want you to install on your cell phone. Now, we have a lot of subscribers, but we want more. All right, so what you do, you text, hi, my name is, what your name is. Please send me the Tattoo app. It's free of charge. The number is 484-655-2994. All right, it's a beautiful app. Whether you have an Android or Apple, you can install it on your phone. And some of the promotions, we have pizza promotions, free books, and free movie tickets. One of the books that we are sponsoring now, hold on. Face. One of the books that we are, let's see here. This is Cicely Tyson's book, Just As I Am. So how do you get the book? Well, you have to subscribe, right? Once you have the cell phone app installed on your phone, and you communicate to me via the app, you have to let me know via the app that, Pastor Dave, I have the app, and I'll know you have it because I sent it to you. And once we dialogue and communicate that way, you say, I would like to have the book free of charge. You get this book. We want you to subscribe and stay connected with Tattoo. That's very, very important to us, okay? Again, the number is 484-655-2994. And once you send that text, I will send the app to your phone when you install it. and you should be good to go. Now, what I mean by pizza promotions, if you know anything about tattoo, when we used to gather together physically in the rec centers, we always had pizza around this time. All right. And so what I'm doing now, if there's a group of you that communicate to me that you're going to be at a certain location to stream live our virtual tattoo session, I'll send pizza your way. So here's an example. So say there's 5 of you and you are followers of tattoo, not only in South Philadelphia, but anywhere now. You say, Pastor Ings, we're in. We want to be engaged with tattoo, and certain criteria to make that work, wherever the location is. And then I need to know what pizza place is. I know the pizza place in South Philly, we got that set up. But if there's somewhere else in the city, we'll have pizza sent to that location, or even some hoagies. How about that? Like Uber Eats. The whole premise is that you guys are going to be, projecting this on your big screen, like screen behind me, and you're watching the tattoo live. And so from there, we could do, there's a series of things that we could do. All right. So that's what I mean when we talk about the pizza promotion, book, movie tickets. All right. The theaters, they should be opening up soon. And when they do, certain movies that are beneficial and educational and productive, we offer free movie tickets for those movies. And we send the ticket actually digitally to your phone. Isn't that cool? All right, so that's that. So now the next thing we want to talk about, we want to finish up our discussion regarding pandemics. All right. And because I realize a lot of people don't know what they should do and how they should respond to these things. Half of America doesn't even believe. Well, they're starting to believe now, but for a while, for the past, 18 months or so, prior to now, America is very divided regarding COVID-19 because, certain people saying it was a hoax. Well, not certain people, that man that was in the White House was saying that it was a hoax. No one could believe it. And, very, very destructive. All right. And so because of that, it kind of put the country on tilt. All right. So you got half the people believe and half don't believe it. Now, here's the dangerous part of that. Surely you're entitled to your own opinion and your own belief system. But those who don't believe aren't wearing masks. And so some unknowingly will be asymptomatic, meaning they have COVID-19, but it hasn't affected them. And they come around you and you contract and you get sick. So you're spreading. That's why they call a lot of the parties that, the White House was having in the old administration, they call them super spreaders. What does that mean? That means, you get a bunch of people gathered together without wearing a mask, not caring about, what the CDC and the scientists are advising, not to do it, but they did it anyway. And many of you, if you don't know, a lot of those people got sick. Even Donald himself got sick. He contracted COVID-19. How did he get it? By those super spreaders, not wearing a mask. And imagine if half America keeps doing that. We can never get beyond. Well, things are a lot better now. But still, there's still some, who are still arguing with some of the particulars. Wear a mask, wear double mask, social distancing, and such like. So you got to watch out for that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we had here as it relates to these pandemics. Now, you have to look at part 1 and part 2. I give you some details on the different pandemics that we've experienced in the world, mostly in the United States since, 1400s and so 1600s, 16th century. But I'm going to fly through it this time because we want to get to the vaccines, what we're talking about last week. All right. So again, I ask you to go to our website, www.tattooforlife.org. You see it right there, Tattoo for Life. And there I want you to subscribe on the first page, you'll see where you can, you know what, I might as well show it to you. Hang on. I like to show you what I'm talking about, which is part of what I like to do anyway. Good. Okay, so here's our website, Tattoo for Life. And again, it gives you some definition, you know, about, you know, what's going on. I'd say, however, due to COVID-19 restrictions, sessions are now virtualized. YouTube Live, and it's what we're doing right now, every Wednesday at 7. All right, so we talked somewhat about that. Remember these wristbands? This one stands for Control Homicide and Neighborhood Gun Violence Effectively. And then we have the tattoo wristband. My daughter said, Dad, why don't you have pink wristbands? I always had blue. Imagine that. Such a boy. So anyway, we'll get some pink ones, and we'll be distributing those in the community once again. Sometimes people have more than one. You know, they had one and it's getting old, and they always ask me, you know, Pastor Ings, can I get another one? I will give you another one. You're in session. You got your pizza. You know, we have a lot of fun. We had these backpacks. I have to order some more. Again, this is how you subscribe. Once you give me your email address in here and you hit subscribe, I will receive your email, and you can get updates as it relates to our newsletter. Newsletter is very exciting. I had the physical newsletter in 2019, but now it's going to be the digital right now. So, but you'll get some of it's associated with our blog now. That's what it's kind of transformed into, a blog. But I'll send that to you in an email. But I want you to subscribe for that. So here we go. So we have our gallery. You can see some of the things at D. Silvestro. Some of you may know some of these people here at VER. Here's my friend Corinne. I always talk about her. And VER, D. Silvestro again. How to contact us. We have information. I'd like you even to come here to the contact page and give me your name. And if you're under 18, make sure you get your parents' permission, you know, and tell me some things about yourself, you know, what I need to know in terms of, you know, do you need any help with peripherals, computer items? Because with this distant learning now, although the schools are planning to open back up, but sometimes you may still need some help with certain things, whether it be clothing items or, you know, whatever it is, you know, certain peripherals to help you out with your computer. We can talk some more about that, but you send that message, whatever message you want to send to me. Say, Pastor Dave, I remember you. I was there at Tattoo, and here's my information. Can I get a T-shirt? We still have T-shirts, tattoo T-shirt. I'll send it to you. All right, but you need to talk to me. Talk to me. All right. Here's about tattoo. So people who's like, well, what's that tattoo thing all about? Does that mean we're going to get a tattoo? No, it doesn't mean that. So you read through the definition of tattoo here, and here's one of our videos from, this was from January. Actually, I need to update it with what we're talking about with the pandemic. Well, once you go here, it takes you right to our YouTube channel, which I'm asking you to subscribe to. And give me a comment. Let me know you were there. Let me know you saw it. All right. And hit the little thumb. There's a little thumb button, and there's ways to, you know, to stay engaged. And if you hit the notification, when we go live, you'll know it. All right. And then in the media, right. And so we're dropping a lot of music. So a lot of these music tracks are all to support our building fund. And a lot of what we're doing with Tattoo and Virtualizing, we're building out a studio and other things to support this path going forward. So again, I can talk to you some more about that. If you subscribe, you'll get some of those emails. You can get some granular detail of what I'm talking about. The blog here is what the newsletter is going to, you know, here we're talking about music and the arts, but I'm going to have some others. And rather than even come to this webpage, you'll get it in your email as well. So that's going to be very exciting. And of course, here's the link to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and YouTube channel. All right. So much going on with Tattoo. All right. And we want you to be engaged with these things. All right. So it's just think about it. Think about the times that we're living in. Some things will never be the same again. Some things we're not going to be able to go back. Some people think, I can't wait till things are normal. Some things are just not going to be normal. We realize some people have lost their jobs, and there's a lot of things that have happened as a result of the pandemic. We'll still be dealing with this for a while, but there's hope. There's hope. There's hope. There's hope. So check this out. We have our, let me cue it up for you. Let's go back to talking about this pandemic, shall we? The definition of a pandemic is a disease prevalent throughout the country, the continent, the whole world, an epidemic over a large area, which an epidemic is a rapid spread of this disease. All right, and that's what we've been dealing with. We had all these world pandemics. We talked about those in part 1 and part 2 of this live session. And I did ask you, man, you know what? There's something I did want to do. I still can do it. I just want to, can y'all hang in here with me? Give me a second. Let's do this. Only got a few minutes to do this.
How many ladies out there are looking for somebody to love your soul?
I'm just going to send out a notification that says that on our YouTube, no, on our Facebook page. That's good. That's good. So we copy that link, and that's Desi. She's a real good friend of mine. He says, nice. Tattoo, slowing down. Tattoo is live now. Okay, so we're going to send this out. Never found someone to. You're the lover of my soul. Okay, so we did that. Oh no. Okay, so we're done with that. Remember, we're promoting this book, Just As I Am. Cicely Tyson, we lost her last month. Such a representation of excellence and beauty and dignity. There's so much to know about her. And but this is a good read. You can get it for free. Okay, so let's go back to, thank you for. So we had these world pandemics, and I'm not going to go through them all. All right, so you had the American plague, 16th century. You had the Philadelphia yellow fever. We talked about that. Flu pandemic or influenza. We had the American polio epidemic, and it took about 40 years before we even had a vaccine for that one. So they didn't have the modern technology we have today. Spanish flu, Asian flu, AIDS pandemic, and to present, AIDS, there's no vaccine for AIDS. There's a lot of medicine to help, allow you to be undetected, and so you won't get sick and die. But once you have it, there's no getting rid of it, and there's no avoiding it. There's not a vaccine that if if the HIV virus is to enter into your bloodstream, there's no vaccine to fight it. You need medicine. All right. So we're still in that. H1N1. All right. It's a swine flu. And then we have Sars-CoV-2 or CoV-2, depending upon who you're talking to, aka COVID-19, which is the and that's not influenza. I can't even say it right. Influenza. This is a virus. All right. And so, what I'll do next time, I'll talk about some of how this virus even got here. And there's a lot of stuff that we're talking about in Wuhan in China is where this SARS-CoV-2 was created. Because see, the COVID is a series of viruses. This one just happens to be COVID-19. All right. Anyway. All right. So we shared all of that. And last week we were talking about what should our response be. Our response should be to block the transmission. So we all have to participate if we're going to block it. All right. It's already here, but what are we blocking? We're blocking the transmission, the spread of it. All right. We can't stop it from being here. It's already here. All right. So we do it by wearing a mask. Sometimes wear a double mask. I do it now. Wash your hands often. Now we have hand sanitizer. I have that in the car. And you should have, a portable hand sanitizer when you're out and about so you could, sanitize your hands. And you see some markets or places where you go and shop, they have hand sanitizer for you. So after you've touched the register and touched things in the market and shopping carts and such like, before you leave the premise, they offer some hand sanitizer. Use that stuff. Squirt that stuff on your hands. I do. Well, I have mine in the car, so when I get to the car, I kind of do my thing. And then I still can't wait till I get home because hand sanitizer is not a replacement of soap and water. It's just until you can get to a sink and some soap and wash your hands for, at least about 30 seconds and get all around your hands. All right. Avoid close contact, social distancing. All right. Some people don't want to do that, but this is how we help. And stay home as much as you can. You have to go to all these parties and every party. And every time somebody say, oh, we're having a party or doing this or what have you. Remember, I talked about super spreaders. You could stay home. It's okay. You're not going to fall apart. And also, get the vaccine. Now, I'm going to explain some things about the vaccine to kind of encourage you to not be afraid of it. I know a lot of African Americans, because of the Tuskegee experiment, and you think that because blacks were being used as guinea pigs at that time, and with these, they said it was a vaccine, but it was worse off than what people knew, and so we're kind of afraid about that. So we can understand, where we're coming from. But that aside, there's been other vaccines like polio and these are still cocktails of vaccines that children still have to get today when you're born, because some of these diseases are still out there, right? But you have to be vaccinated so that, especially if you go to some of the third world countries, if I want to go to Africa, and I will be, that's one of my plans for two reasons, just for vacation and for missionary work. But one of the things there's shots you have to receive before you go there because of some of the diseases that are rampant there, like malaria, or HIV. Again, but there's others that, once you get your shots and you won't be so susceptible to go over there and die. It's kind of rough to say it that way, isn't it? So there's been other vaccines, so don't be so afraid of this one. All right, what do it do? It can stop the chain of transmission. All right, it creates a protective barrier. And how's that? Well, it stops the epidemic from spreading within a population. So if you look at the little depiction below, the three people in the red, images in the red represent, say, someone who's infected with a disease or COVID-19. The person in blue is the one who's been vaccinated. And just because they're vaccinated, so you have a chain of transmission here. You're assuming the first person passed it to the second passed it to the third, and the third would just assume passed it to the fourth. But the fourth person wasn't vaccinated. So the buck stops here, sort of. So it doesn't. So it's not transmitting. So the 3 people following the 4 person doesn't get the virus. So what we have, so in explaining that, that's that protective barrier. We're going to talk a little bit more about that that's when we're talking about herd immunity. Herd immunity. All right. What the scientists do, we have what we call this basic reproductive number, or the R naught, which is an average amount of new cases caused by existing cases. So if you have 4 people in, I don't know, within a week in a certain area who are infected by a disease, the R naught would tell you on an average how many people are additionally affected by this disease by 4. So 4 people are affected. Then you have, and then we have this thing. This is just basic reproductive number. I went through this before, and I won't bore you with it so much right now. But the R naught, we do the algorithm. You do the math, and you determine if you have 4 people, and those 4 people infect on an average 2 people, or 2 people were infected by the 4. If you divide that 4 by 2, you get 0.5. So half of that population is within a decade would get that disease. So that's not really a big, but if you go all the way to D, you have there 4 people are infecting 72 people, or really 18 people at a time. So out of those 4 people, you've got 72 people who also contracted the disease. Now, it only took 4 people. So it's just, if you look at it like this, if you have 4 people who are infected by a disease and they walk into, I don't know, the mall or what have you, all right, no one's wearing a mask. On an average, those 4 people, each individually, will infect. Well, those 4 people in total, that's what I'm saying, in total will infect or cause 72 other people to be infected. So you do the math there. On an average, we're talking about 18 people. That's just the R naught. So anyway, that's just doing the math. But herd immunity, here it is. It creates an invisible shield against the spread. So the images in blue are those who've been vaccinated. Those in red are those who are infected by the disease. All right? And then those who are in the white, who aren't infected, neither are they vaccinated. But those in blue sort of create a barrier, so the propagation of this disease, it's slowed down tremendously because of those who are interwoven in the society, in the population, as being vaccinated. That's why we're trying to get as many people as vaccinated as we can, because that inherently, in and of itself, slows down the spread. So you get these high numbers. It slows it down. The more people are vaccinated. And that slowdown, that process is called herd immunity. All right, so vaccines create an immune. What it does, it creates an immune response to develop cells that make antibodies to fight the disease in your system. They're called B cells, and these T cells are created to recognize what is called pathogens within the cell. All right, to remove it. Now, this is where I wanted to get to kind of explain the vaccines, basically, especially the Johnson Johnson, the Jensen vaccine, which has now been approved. It wasn't last time I spoke. So let me do this. So what you see, well, I can show it to you like this. You have, look at the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. You have number 1 is the adenovirus, which is was created, right? And it has within it the within it the it's kind of a replica of a disease. All right. So what the vaccine, this is all done in a laboratory. It's the best I can explain it. What the vaccine has, it takes from the adenovirus. Now, the adenovirus in and of itself, one of the things that's been removed from that virus is its ability to replicate. It's one of the things that, once, a disease, a virus, or this cell enters into your body, typically cells replicate in the nucleus. That's usually what happens. All right, whether it's AIDS or what have you, once you get that thing, it tries to take you down. Well, here we go. So the vaccine in there, that strand that you see inside of there is just a copy of the DNA from the adenovirus. So that's number 2. Number 3, once that is injected into your system, that vaccine now is attaching itself to the outer layer of your human cell. That's the human cell you see there. All right. And then once it's there, that DNA structure, that's what you see, the little purple and pink. That DNA is now transmitted into the nucleus. Right there is where the replication would happen. But again, with this vaccine, it's designed, it's made so it won't replicate. And again, the good news is you're never getting any parts of COVID-19 in your system. Usually you understand that vaccines are created by live viruses. Because that's the way it was before. You're always getting some piece of the virus in your system, and then your body builds an immunity against it. Well, because of modern technology, they didn't have to do it this way, which is a good thing. So whenever you get that vaccine, you think, I want that COVID-19. You're not getting it. There's no parts of COVID-19 in this vaccine. What we have here, because of the science, you have the DNA structure, the molecular structure of the outer layer of that COVID-19, and what that thing. So what that DNA structure is transmitted into the nucleus, and then the nucleus has what we call this mRNA, which is a messenger RNA, which has pretty much a blueprint, if you would, of what the COVID-19 looks like to your system. When it enters in, it's like, what does this look like? What does the virus look like within my system? Well, the mRNA has that molecular structure, almost in a snapshot, if you will. I'm using different terms, so y'all and what it does, and back into the cytoplasm, which is in between the nucleus and the outer layer of your cell, you have now the spike protein is now created. So now it's creating an immune response. And out of it, you end up with this spike protein, which is what's necessary for your antibodies to know how to identify with the disease. And ultimately what it'll do, it prevents you from getting sick and dying. All right, because a lot of times what's happening, people end up being hospitalized. So let me show you this. Let's see here. When we talk about that, let me go back to what I had here. Watch this. We're going to close out in a minute. Let's see, we're going to close out like we're in church. So again, we had these things. So once the spike protein, that's the end state. Once that's in your system, it has the DNA. It has the information that your cells and your antibody needs to know how to destroy and get rid of such a foreign virus into your system. All right. So what I'll show you here is these are now the approved vaccines. I don't know about AstraZeneca. I don't think they're approved yet. But the only reason I'm showing you this, you had the Pfizer, Moderna, and I'm going to jump over here to Johnson & Johnson or Jensen, which was approved, I believe, over the weekend. All right. What these numbers, remember, it's talking about these different, remember the adenovirus and the DNA structure. That's different than what the RNA, the way it was getting into the cells with Pfizer and Moderna. That's why you're getting 2 shots. Some of the differences with the Johnson & Johnson, which people like, you're only going to get 1. shot. Isn't that cool? So when that vaccine becomes available to you, or first of all, whatever vaccine is available, you take that. All right. So don't wait. Don't try to wait things out. Or if you're scheduled to take it, get it. Whether it's the Pfizer or what have it. Well, with the Pfizer, you schedule. I think 30 days or 28 days after the first shot, you have to have your schedule to get your second shot, et cetera. And same with all of these, with the exception of Johnson & Johnson. Get one shot deal, man, you're done. Isn't that nice? Okay, so this is the efficacy percentage, or how effective it is. And with the Pfizer, 95%. So what does that mean? 95% of the time where people who had this were not hospitalized. They did not have to, contract this virus and die. Same with Moderna, they had 94% overall. This AstraZeneca, I don't think this is authorized yet. It might be. Don't hold me to it. This is just information, and so a lot of this information came from scientists and the CDC. So I don't own this, but this kind of help you understand what this is all about. So they're promised in the 62%, and some of these have changed, especially the Johnson & Johnson. Because at first, they were talking about 66% efficacy rate. That means the effectiveness of it. But in the U.S., you had 72, Los Angeles, South Africa. Why is that important? Because this Johnson & Johnson vaccine was developed where the second strand is found. Over in South Africa. I don't know if you heard about the second strand of this of coronavirus, the second wave of it, which is more effective, more deadlier than the first. So everyone's afraid of that. We're not trying to hear that. All right. Now that was before, the Pfizer and the Moderna was developed before we even knew about that. Not saying that the efficacy rate against that second strand would be impacted by this number, but it sure is impacted by this number, because this number takes into account the other strand, because they were developing it in those areas where that more deadlier strand was. Interesting stuff, huh? Okay, let me go back to, I'm going to end this off. All right, so check this out. Where am we? Okay, so lastly, we have, let me do this. Vaccines explained. All right, we talked about the mRNA, which is a messenger RNA, which gives the molecular structure of the vaccine. It's new technology. It's not making vaccines like we did in the past. All right. The benefit of the mRNA vaccine, like other vaccines, is those vaccinated gain protection against ever having to risk a serious consequences of getting sick. So you could still contract COVID-19, but with this vaccine, what's going to happen is those people who are hospitalized, usually end up in a hospital, they put a ventilator on you, and you die. Not everyone, y'all, but some. That has been the path. By the time they put that ventilator on you, and you just, especially if you had upper respiratory issues and other health issues, and that COVID-19 is a dog, man, and you can't breathe, and your lungs get filled up with fluid. Some people end up with pneumonia, and not many days hence, they die. Well, this prevents all of that. That's that efficacy rate I showed you. 95% of the time with those other vaccines, that does not happen. So here are the authorized vaccines you have, as we showed you. You had the Pfizer, you had the Moderna, and now we got Johnson & Johnson. And now the AstraZeneca are a trial vaccine. I think it's still in trial base. And the Novavax, I don't know so much about that yet. But what is our response? We can do it. That's it. So listen, let's stay connected. Tattoo is tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked. So I'm always bringing something. Now, we kind of paused to go into the pandemic and whatnot. And, this is the same thing I would be explaining if we were in a rec center and talking about disease. If anything that's affecting all of us the way it is, I'm bringing that knowledge and bringing that understanding into the hood, into places where, some people are overlooking. Remember I said tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked. And these are tough topics. Some people get offended when you talk about wearing a mask. You got to wash your hands because some people don't want to do that, especially young people. You think, and unfortunately, some of the young people are some of the ones who are spreading the virus. Because you think you're young, you're invincible, so you're out there running around and you're touching and exposing yourself to things and you don't even know it. So when you go home to your elderly grandparents or what have you, you may be asymptomatic, but you go around them, they contract it. They end up in the hospital, not you. You out playing ball, doing your thing. So we have to do our part, all right? Wash your hands, social distance, and, let's play. And when it's time for you to take the vaccine, take it. All right, understand these things. We'll talk some more about it. All right. So, tattoo for life. Tough answers, tough topics, often overlooked.